How do humans? Welcome to episode 7 of the Rediscover Human Podcast. Those watching on YouTube, welcome to my sofa once again. We're sitting on the ground as we always do every week. What we're sipping on? Do you know what we're sipping on, Josh?
Maitake mushrooms?
Maitake, yeah, the dancing mushroom. Apparently when people discovered it, they would dance back in the day when they found the Maitake mushroom in Asia or wherever it was.
Yeah, not surprising really.
Yeah.
Pretty magical stuff.
It's a good flavour, this. I think it's one of the
nice.
best flavoured mushrooms, the Maitake. This is from Enriched this week. Nice little powdered Maitake. Today's topic of conversation. Oh yeah, no Chris, for those that have realised, either watching or listening, that we don't have Chris again this week. He's off. We don't actually know what he's doing, but something important came up.
Yeah.
So we'll leave him to it. But you text me and were like, you got an idea for the conversation for this week? What we're going to talk about?
So I think, just going off some of the feedback from last week, people seem to love the supplement app, but they were looking for something a little bit more tangible that you could take away.
Not just grilling the industry. Yeah.
And I think it's good to expose that, in terms of allowing people to understand what's going on, but at the same time, people want actionable stuff they can take away. And I think it would be a bit overkill if we just went supplements again this week. So I thought we could do a day in the life or a week in the life in terms of what we're eating, what sort of holistic health practices we're implementing, what our morning routines like, what our evening routines like, that sort of stuff. So I think it's fairly easy as well to walk through, because we could just start off with the morning routine, work through the day, and then we can maybe look at stuff that we just chuck in sporadically throughout the week, like nature walks and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah, sounds like a good topic. I think people will like it.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So, what, you going to start with morning routines?
Yeah.
What you got? I know you're into meditation.
So actually, I've dropped meditation out of my mornings at the moment. So I was an avid morning meditator. It would be the first thing I'd do when I woke up.
Your girlfriend is a meditation teacher. I think we'd let the people know.
Yeah.
Pick up Izzy.
Yeah. So my girlfriend is a meditation teacher, and I know I'm very biased, but she's a good one. And very blessed to have her just take me through sessions whenever I want. But we have sort of a evening routine nailed down for that, and I was doing it by myself in the morning because I'm a really early riser. Yeah, I naturally wake up around 6:30 at the latest, quite often before 6 o'clock. Yeah, just wake up, and Izzy's completely different. She'll wake up later in the day, so morning meditation was my own, but at the same time it was a bit of a chore in the morning because I love starting work. So it was I would meditate, but it would just be you're
thinking about what the work is coming. Yeah.
I'd be thinking about work. So I've switched it to an evening routine that's working a lot better. Switch off before
crack it out in the morning, crack out your work, and then do the meditation when you can actually turn your brain off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice.
But I think what I was doing, and I got into the habit of this, was just getting up and straight away working. And I think what I needed to do, and which I've implemented now, was just something to give me a little gap, little wake up gap.
Yeah. Before you're staring at a screen.
Yeah, before starting to stare at the screen.
Important, yeah. So
now what I do is I wake up, and first of all I try not to check my phone as the first thing, because I know there's such a thing in the modern world where people just wake up, grab their phone straight away, straight on emails, WhatsApp, social media and all that sort of stuff. So, and being completely honest, I can't always do that. Sometimes the first thing I do in the morning is check my phone, but I consciously try not to do that as much as possible. Yep. And then I will employ one of Paul Chek's little tricks, which is I take a pint of water, I'll gargle, and I'll swill my mouth out, and then I'll just down the rest of the water. And what he says is, when you're sleeping in the middle of the night, you got your mouth open and you're just catching all the sort of bacteria that's in the room. Yeah. And your mouth acts as a filter and catches that. So if you gargle and swill your mouth first thing in the morning, instead of drinking and swallowing that down, you're getting that out of your mouth. And then you drink the water, so you hydrate. Because that's another problem. I think a lot of people first thing in the morning just drink a cup of coffee. And I think if you can hydrate before that and drink some water. So, get up, swill my mouth out, glass of water, and then what I've been doing lately is I'll read, or actually what I do is I listen to audiobooks and make notes, because that just works way better for me. So I'm listening to a book at the moment called The Way of the Shaman, It's really good, actually. And yeah, I just listen to that for like 30 minutes, make some notes on that. So that's my morning routine. And then once that's done, then I make myself a cup of coffee and start work.
Nice, man. Yeah, it's nice. Separate the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a morning moment. Yeah, I guess it's always changing. I think we're all always adapting and changing with the moments. But at the moment, I've been back to sleeping on the floor. Although I did camp last night in a hammock, my first night in a hammock. But some people might remember if they heard my London Real podcast, the first one I ever did 5 years ago. I was sleeping on the floor at the time. And I've done 6 month stints on and off. When I moved back to Derby a few years ago, I did like another 6 months on the floor. And then you just get sick of fighting it. And I didn't have a bed in my house when I moved in for 6 months until I was fasting. And then I was just like, I just wanted comfort at one point when I was fasting. Although, interestingly, when you are fasting, you find everything more comfortable. Like a cat can just lay anywhere, or a child can just lay anywhere and pass out. When I was fasting, my body had inflammation and tightness were gone. I could be really comfortable anywhere. But random side note. So I'm back sleeping on the floor now. But when I wake up, you always wake up middle of the night, right? In that moment when I wake up middle of the night, I move to my bed in that moment. So I have
really?
3 or 4 hours on the floor, 3 or 4 hours in the bed. And I feel like that really balances me out, because then you got a good stint on the floor where you're not just, I don't know, there's something about it makes more sense. And I always notice when I sleep on the floor, I'm better at being able to nap in the daytime. And I think napping is a skill. Like being able to nap, being able to switch off and relax. Napping is like the ultimate meditation in my eyes in some ways.
It's the ultimate form of rest, sleep, right?
Sleep, but the napping is like, it's in a unique spectrum of sleep, because when you come out of a nap, it's like you've just had the deepest meditation, isn't it? It's like there's like a real softness to you, and like.
So, 2 things on that. First of all, the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, sleeping on the floor. Is that completely, you're just like back on the carpet? Or have you got anything?
My quilt.
Okay.
I turn my quilt, because it's hotter now. So I have my quilt is the floor, and then I've got my earthing sheet is my cover. So it's just a sheet on top. And then the quilt is enough with one thin pillow. And I like to sleep with the window open. But the other night I was like, there was an alarm going off. And I actually didn't shut the window. I thought I'm going to be fine. It didn't bother me. I was fine with it. Eventually the alarm stopped. Middle of the night, the alarm went off again. And I thought, let me shut the window this time.
Yeah.
And I ended up waking up like I had the deepest sleep. And I was like, man, because you want to sleep with circulating air as much as possible, which is why camping's beautiful and you get fresh air. But then also noise is a factor when your subconscious is taking that in of city sounds when you're asleep. So it's like, which way is it? Well, so some nights I think I'm going to have to go forward, and some nights consciously have the windows closed, sometimes have it open and just kind of mix between them. But putting earplugs in and eye masks on, I know people recommend that. I get that, but it does feel kind of unnatural. And if you are out when I camped last night, you hear natural bird noises and you wake up early. So at the moment I'm waking up, I'm going to bed about 10 o'clock. I'm waking up really early. I wake up on the days I work at Chi, in the morning, 6:30 shift start. Set my alarm for 5:45. I wake up before my alarm. Then when I'm not working, there's amazing thing. A lot like your body, you can tell yourself when to wake up. Yeah. And wake up, but who's going to risk that before an important job or something? Like, you're always going to set the alarm, but you always seem to wake up before it anyway. So
why do you sleep on the floor? What's the reason?
Beds aren't natural at all, for one.
Yeah. Okay.
When you sleep on a bed, your skeleton sinks into your muscles, and so your muscles kind of like stabilize, and your muscles are semi-active to support your skeleton, right? You can picture that, right?
Uh-huh.
You're lying on a bed and you bend where you're heavier in your hips, there'll be a bit more weight there. When you're on the floor flat, your skeleton supports your weight because it's hard on hard.
Yeah.
So your skeleton is firm, and then your muscles can relax. And it's just something in it that's just more natural. It's better it goes to posture. For recovery, it feels better.
I bet there was an adjustment period with that, right? When you first tried to sleep on the floor.
First, yeah, it could take days or a week. But StrongFit sleeps on the floor. I heard him talk about it as well. Strong Camps has done it as well.
I know Chris sleeps on the floor religiously.
Yeah.
He's a on the floor, window open, curtains open kind of guy.
Curtains open as well. That's interesting. I like blackout when I can. But I think there's something to it. But I can't say for certain. I've done stints in my life, and I like that I'm back to it now. But then I get up. At the moment, I'm doing 11 minutes meditation in the morning. I just come in, I sit on the office chair, set my phone's on airplane mode, still not turned on. I'll do that, and then
is it just silence it in, watching your breath?
It's silence, yeah.
Okay.
Just breathing, and I'm sat in the chair. I used to like try and force it, sit cross-legged on the floor, and I'm so much feeling squirming or feeling uncomfortable that I just meditate in a chair. Why not? Be comfortable with it. It's not about fighting, unless you want to make it about that, about fighting the discomfort. But at the moment, for me, it's just sitting in the chair, and then I might do some reishi or chaga. Normally, mostly reishi, drops under the tongue, Nisha's reishi before the meditation, and then do that. And then, go to chi, or I'll tie some ropes. I quite like doing the rope stuff in the morning because it's not you're not staring at a screen. It's labour. It's hands on. It gets the body waking up. I'm squatting down as I'm doing this, so I'll do that. I don't go into intense exercise. I don't set my alarm and get up and run out the door at 7 a.m. I rate it when people do that, but I sometimes think the body wants a gentle wake up. So if I'm going to exercise in the morning, it'd be like we meet at 10 o'clock, or I'll go for a run around 10. I'll have breakfast. Then I will turn on the computer at maybe 9 o'clock if I'm at home, and I'll do the emails, do the orders for the ropes, and then I'll either eat breakfast and walk to the post office, and I like the walk. It takes 10-15 minutes there and back, and that's like a nice little ritual. Like pack everything, take it out. I'll come back and eat, or I'll eat before I go, because then you get to walk it off. You know, it's nice to walk after you've eaten. And at the moment, my breakfast has been mostly like steak and avocado, so similar to yours. It's just
nice
steak and avocado, and then come back, and then I might exercise or do some more work or edit a video, or we'll meet up and train or go for a walk or something. But basically, my morning, it's gentle. I don't abuse my body. I don't cold shower every day, but if I feel like I need, sometimes it's nice if you wake up and you feel a bit sweaty, like have a blast of a cold shower. But there's no set breakfast. I'm not intermittent fasting. Some days I will go till 12 o'clock without, maybe once or twice a week. I will consciously go till 12 o'clock if I'm occupied. But I don't make it every day. It's kind of like now and then, you know. I'm the same with intermittent fasting. So often, if the day allows, I'll eat my first meal at 11. But you know, some days it's just not practical to do that.
If
you know you're going to be training or something, you want.
If I'm training, I'll always fuel up before I train, or you know, if I know I've got meetings, so I'm not going to be able to eat at 11 till 1. I'm just going to eat breakfast beforehand.
You don't want to be sat in that meeting thinking about food.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's okay to eat early in the morning. Like.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like I think people decide they're going to intermittently fast, and there's the same with a lot of different approaches to diet, where they'll decide they're doing something, and then if they don't adhere to whatever they're trying to do, it'll stress them out. And the worst thing you can do is be stressed, because when you're in a stressed out state, you're not going to digest your food properly, and that leads to food intolerances, and we can go into all of that in another
Navigating
episode.
Navigating that is a tough one, though, isn't it?
It's and especially in modern society.
Choosing when I've set the intention to intermittent fast today, and it's going to take 3 days before your body's adapted to that choice anyway. But then you're fighting yourself for 3 days, and then you might get into intermittent fasting, and you might, I feel great for a few days, and then you like end up having breakfast with your girlfriend or something, and it's like you're out of it again. So it's a constant thing. But I go to Chi on a Monday morning, 6:30, and I'm offloading boxes and, you know, potato bags and everything. And it's like, if I don't have breakfast at 5:45, 6 a.m. that day, I'm trying to intermittent fast, I'm not going to be happy at work lifting all this stuff around. Like a farmer has a big breakfast before he goes and works on the farm. You know what I mean? They'll often skip lunch, but they'll have breakfast and a big old dinner. And it's like, I think there's something to that. And that's also with circadian rhythm. It's like our liver, have you heard that? Is far better at digesting food, and at like 8 a.m. or early in the morning, our organs are much better at digesting than later on in the evening.
No, I haven't actually heard that before.
You haven't heard that? Yeah. So all this intermittent fasting is like, I respect it if people do it from like 6 or 8 a.m. till like 2 or 4 p.m. But everyone wants to skip breakfast, not eat till 12, 1 or 2, and then eat at 8 to 10 o'clock at night. And they're thinking that's doing them a favour. And I just think that the real harder part of that is eating late before bed and just lying in bed with food in your stomach. And
that's the worst thing, because our stomachs, just like our brain and our eyes, have the circadian rhythm, right? So we should, this goes, and we'll touch on this I'm sure later with the sort of when we get into the evening routine, but you don't want to be looking at screens late at night because your brain can't tell the difference between your phone or your laptop and the sun.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at your laptop, then you're
In the bad kind of way, like not the good kind of way, like because the sun is positive in lots of ways.
Oh no, yeah, of course the sun's,
the worst kind
the sun's massively positive, but it's not positive when you want to go to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Because your brain releases your body releases melatonin, which goes to your brain, which triggers the sleep cycle.
Which is why sunglasses are bad, by the way.
Yeah, because you're not getting the sun's rays into your eyes during the daytime.
And then your body doesn't know that it needs to protect itself.
Okay, do you want to go into that a little bit more?
I mean, I can't say this for fact because I've not done tests myself, but I've heard this, I've experienced it firsthand, I've witnessed it in other people. How often do you see someone who's got sunglasses on and then they get absolutely fried? And I never wear sunglasses, I don't get fried, right? And the theory is, if you're covering your eye, if your eyes sense that it's bright outside and it knows you're outside, it releases chemicals on the skin to protect it, or it at least knows something's going on, so it whatever the body wants to. It's cleverer than we're going to know right now, right? Science is unfinished. But then if you're wearing sunglasses, the body doesn't know it's bright outside, it doesn't do anything to the skin, and then people end up getting absolutely fried.
Yeah, that could be feasible for sure. It makes sense. It's logical.
Yeah. So I'd avoid them unless you suddenly go to a new country or you're skiing or something like that. I think it's a different scenario. But if you're in your home country, sunglasses make zero sense to me, apart from like extreme situations where you're like, today I need them.
Yeah, if you're driving.
Or for fashion. I'd rather people wear them for fashion than think they're doing themselves a healthy justice.
Yeah, for sure. And I think actually that ties nicely into another thing that I try to do in the mornings is, and it's not always easy in Britain because of
walk and get the sunlight.
Get the sunlight on the eyes. So the way I'll usually get up in the morning is I'll do the water, and then I'll just throw my head out the window for a couple of minutes and just put my eyes in the towards the sun, and you absorb vitamin D the best around your eyeballs and the area around your eyeballs. So even if your eyes are closed, just like let that sun get on your face, and it just kickstarts your circadian rhythm, kicks you into life. And then do the reading. I've heard
I think the Strong Sisters were saying they do that as well a lot.
Yeah. It makes you feel good, and it just tells your body, right, it's daytime now, it's time to get up, it's time to go, it's time to work, it's time to...
Yeah, and especially even if it's just after breakfast as well, when you eat. I know I've been following what you put me onto, the vertical diet, more recently, and he talks about 10-minute walks after every meal.
Yeah.
So do you follow anything like that, or do you?
Yeah, so I tend to, in the morning, so by the time I finished everything, it'll normally be about 7:30. I'll start work, and I might hit some nootropics like you. So
yeah,
I absolutely love coffee. I know you're a massive fan of coffee, but
I mean, I love the taste of it, bro. I've managed to not get too deep into it, so I'll have a good one with you. Like we'll have it with the UFC, and that's great.
Yeah, and you don't want to become reliant on it.
Yeah, I've just never been reliant, so
and I think that's a problem with a lot of population is people literally can't function without coffee. And on that point, actually, just for everyone listening, it's really important coffee is one of those things that it's so important to go for an organic version.
Yeah.
Because it's always grown in third world countries, and they have usually got the worst pesticides because they'll be using whatever's been banned in America. America will say, oh, this pesticide's banned, ship it over to wherever, we'll sell it to them, so we'll be able to use it back, and then they use it on their crops, and then the crops come back to America and they're sold in America, no problem.
Shoot.
So it's normally the worst pesticides being used in third world countries.
And is that going to be like Costco and Starbucks or what?
And so Costco's apparently organic coffee, although it is the worst tasting coffee in my opinion. It's just I prefer to have nothing than that. But it's one of those things that it's really important to try and go for organic with coffee.
Okay.
I'll have coffee, and then I'll often mix it with nootropics. So I like blending. I've got like a bean grinder at home, and I'll put in lion's mane mushroom in powdered form in with the coffee beans, grind it through the coffee beans, and then I'll use it on my coffee machine.
Nice.
And I absolutely love that in the morning. It's just like a gram or two of lion's mane.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing it pre-training, I'll add the cordyceps in as well.
Yeah.
So cordyceps is a really cool mushroom, and Nisha's got an amazing video on this on YouTube. But just to summarize, cordyceps grow at really high altitude, and because they grow at such high altitude, they're amazing at extracting oxygen from the air. And then when you consume them, it increases your cell's ability to uptake oxygen. And you can feel it when you train. You really can feel it. It makes a difference. So if I'm training, I'll not only have some lion's mane, which is great for increasing focus and like neural connectivity, but I'll add the cordyceps in as well because I know it's going to enhance my cardio. So yeah, I'll have my coffee with the nootropics, and then I'll tend to just work until I'll eat, which will be 11 on a usual day. And breakfast for me is normally bacon, eggs, avocado. It's pretty much it every morning. And then
Nitrate-free bacon? Or?
No. I always go for organic. Everything I try and eat organic as much as possible, and I really do stick to that like 80% of the time. And I spoke to Dom Origins Nutrition about nitrate-free bacon, and I can't remember off the top of my head why, but he says it's nothing you should be worrying about.
Cool.
So anyway, I'll eat that, and then coming back to your point, I'll have saved whatever manual labor I need to do. So say, for example, I'm restocking MCT or doing something where I'm out and going into, the factory space and sorting that sort of stuff. I'll save that for post-breakfast.
Okay, so
I do the equivalent of my 10-minute walk by doing those sort of tasks after my breakfast.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll get back into work, and then I normally have lunch around like 3:00. And then again,
do you make that big, or do you save your big meal for later?
So I probably have my biggest meal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But my lunch, so I train every day, and I normally like 4 days a week I'll do what's like a heavier training session, and then 3 days a week I'll do a lighter training session. So if I'm doing a lighter training session like today, I just did mobility and a little bit of rope. I'll have no carbs at my lunch, so I'll just keep it keto again. So like today I had mackerel and carrot. That was it, a bit of raw carrot, and a keto fuel. I had a keto fuel.
Standard, yeah.
But on training days, what I'll do is I'll add a bit of carbohydrate into that. So I'll usually train post lunch around 3:30. And I'll just hit some like fast glycolytic carbs to be able to
fruit.
So fruit, yeah. Basically, I'm on pineapple at the minute. I'm obsessed with pineapple.
Yeah, you're always on the pineapple.
I just cut a load of pineapple up, chuck it in the fridge, and just some cold pineapple before training. So I have
just before training. You have it.
Yeah, I'll bang it, and the idea is raise my blood sugar levels to be able to fuel the anaerobic training zone, so that like medium to high intensity training zone from 15 seconds to 2 minutes. So I'll fuel that with the sugar, and it'll knock me out of ketosis when I have the pineapple. But by the time I've trained, I've burnt through it. Just high glycolytic carbs just go straight in, straight out. Be back in ketosis by the end of my session.
Nice.
So do you want to go through your sort of like lunch?
Yeah. So at the moment, I had the breakfast. Then I did all my work, took the ropes to the shop. Then I went for a run today. So I ran 6K round a hill. So, because we're touching on training, I do like 2 or 3 runs a week at the moment. I do 1 or 2 kettlebells. Well, I mean, sometimes 3 or 4 kettlebell sessions, depends on. Some weeks I'm like flying and every day I'm throwing them about, and some weeks my body's just like wants a break from them.
Yeah.
And I have to just not stress it, because you can feel like, why am I not enjoying it anymore? But it just all comes back full circle. And then once a week or twice a week, we're hitting strongman kind of training.
Yeah.
So I did my 6K run, and I came back, and I just, after running, like carbs just satisfy me so much. So at the moment, I'm following, I'm not to the letter, but the vertical diet, Stan Efferding, which is the strongman diet. Did we touch on this before? I don't think we have in the podcast.
No, I don't think we have. No.
So it's more of a strongman diet where you get your micronutrients in from like certain red pepper, spinach, carrots. And you introduced me to this, and we talked about it ages ago, and then you mentioned it again. And I thought, maybe I'll give that a try. But then that's your horizontal line. It's just like a set amount of these micronutrients. So I don't follow a set protocol, like a set amount. But then the vertical line is basically red meat and rice. So the simplest carbs, like there's no fiber in white rice, basically. It's all the husks gone, and red meat feels very simple to digest.
Yeah, 100%. It's so easy to digest.
Yeah, it just like goes down. So you basically can have as much white rice and red meat as you want to bulk up. Now, I'm not trying to bulk up. I don't do this for size, but although it is a good strongman diet, because it's the easiest diet on digestion.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the diet, is because these guys need to eat so many calories to get big. They've got to eat the calories that are the easiest to digest. Because if you eat too much cruciferous vegetables, you're gonna have issues. If you eat too much FODMAP foods or whatever, is it FODMAP?
High FODMAP.
High FODMAP foods, then you're gonna have issues. So it's kind of like avoiding FODMAP foods, low cruciferous, low farty foods, basically.
Yeah.
And that made sense to me. And coming from veganism and having some digestion issues and stuff, I thought, let me try that, because I've done carnivore, I've done vegan, and this is kind of like the perfect of two worlds. Why not meat in the middle? It's all the carbs of rice that I used to eat when I was vegan, and all the meat from the carnivore, and they're both meeting in the middle in this balanced way. And it does feel really balanced, actually, and especially after running or some like long duration intense workout. Getting those carbs in just really helps me to calm down and settle my body and feel nourished. So I'll eat around training the big rice portion.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'll have a third meal of the day. And this would depend when I train, but the 3 meals are basically more like a steak or a fish breakfast, the rice, and basically I've got a rice cooker. I just put in a cup of rice. I make little mince. I buy organic mince from Chi. I make little meatballs, and I put in some salt, some frozen peas, some spinach, and some bone broth. So cooking the rice and bone broth really helps with the flavour.
Yeah.
And then I have like chopped tomatoes just to give it a bit more flavour. But basically, I was really enjoying my pesto, and I was having loads of nice salads and loads of lovely vegetables, but I couldn't enjoy them without olive oil. And I just felt like the olive oil wasn't my body wasn't enjoying it. Like, I'd enjoy the flavour of it, but then I'd have a blocked nose every morning, and I thought there was something with the oil with that. So I wanted to eat a diet I could kind of enjoy without the oil that was fueling me, that felt like whole foods as well. So this is where I've ended up.
Yeah.
But then my third meal will be like a nice vegan, vegetarian, like salad type meal, where I'll steam some cauliflower, I'll make some zucchini noodles, so like raw zucchini noodles.
Yeah.
Steam cauliflower, some tomatoes, maybe sweet corn, steam some, I've got some rainbow chard at the moment, whatever's in season from Chi.
Nice.
So I'll steam, and maybe there'll be like a third of a sweet potato or some pumpkin or a bit of carbs in that meal.
Mm-hmm.
But to have some colour in my meal, and to have it whole food and what's in season, that's organic riverfood or whatever that they stock at Chi, that feels like kind of a nice balanced way. So there's like a carnivore meal, kind of like a vegan colourful meal, and then my in between, my carb fuel meal.
Yeah.
And that feels like, and I try not to have a big meal late, and I think that's really important. And then outside of that, I'll have some fruit or I've been having a lot of cashews lately. I'm trying to step back from them. It's one of them nut snacks that once you get into them, but
you can destroy a few bites of cashews pretty easy.
But I found that red peppers are really nice, kind of like satisfier, rather than an apple that's quite glycemic. It's like a red pepper seems to work for me. But I will have the odd pear or pomegranates I've been buying, or blueberries or cherries, something that is low glycemic fruit that doesn't seem to affect me too much.
Yeah.
With that vertical diet as well, they recommend cranberry juice. So I'd buy that, and I've got a little shot glass, and I'll just occasionally, after I finish like my meal, if I just have a shot of cranberry juice, it just helps to finish me off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than like craving that
little palate cleanser.
That palate cleanser that leaves you with a sweet taste in your mouth. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point as well to make for people when you were talking then about how you're following your intuition with training. When you were saying you're just following, some weeks you might hit 7 kettlebell sessions, did you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And some weeks you might not do any.
Yeah.
And then equally with your diet, when you're talking about the oil, like you're constantly watching how your body's responding and dialing in on what you need in that particular moment. And I think that's one of the big problems in sort of like the fitness world, is people want a diet plan or a training plan, and then they just follow it to the absolute book. And it's so much more about learning what your body needs and understanding that the diet that works for you today might not be the same diet that works for you in 2 weeks' time, probably won't be the same diet that works for you in 2 years' time.
It's crazy, man. Yeah. How can you to be constantly aware? The only way to do that is to be truly which is the undoing process, to be able to just be so in touch with your intuition. And that's so hard because we've got emotional attachment to things. And we're training a certain way, and we're enjoying a diet, and our friends eat a certain way, and we get, you have traumas from certain diets where you've overdone a diet, and then like coming out of veganism was a trauma. Coming out of carnivore, I was scared of rice.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I know how that is for anyone. It's natural when you've been in that diet and you're such an elimination diet. Like I had a grain of pepper in a burger when I was carnivore, and I had like a 99% burger, and it was like 1% salt and pepper, and I had a flare up for 2 days. My feet were itching from the pepper. And it's like when you get that sensitive, you come out of it with these phobias, and it's like I think the 80-20 rule is a really good rule. It's like if you can just be that, because you need the emotional balance and the happiness of life to be healing as well. And it's like we don't have answers for people. Basically, we can just say what we're doing.
And that's the thing. It's like you need to learn what works for yourself, and you need to be able to constantly assess. And it's hard, like you said. It's like it's hard to know because there's so much background noise going on. But it's just as long as you're consciously making that effort to try and check in with yourself at the time and adjust and not think, I'm a zealot on this diet and I'm sticking to this diet and there's no other option. Because I get all the time, people obviously, products we produce are ketogenic. People say to me all the time, like, I'll eat something which is a non-ketogenic food.
Yeah.
And people are like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, I believe in this type of diet. Like, I think more people should eat a higher fat, lower carb diet because it's a much more natural diet. A lot of people eat way too much processed foods, and I think when you're following like a keto paleo approach, it pulls you way away from processed foods, and generally it makes people healthier. But at the same time, like, I'm all about enjoying life, and I say it all the time, I'm a fat boy at heart. Like, I love eating burgers. I absolutely love eating burgers.
Friends, yeah. Law of attraction.
Yeah. And if you have a burger once a week or once every 2 weeks and have a little meal off, it's it's nothing to stress about. You see it people all the time.
It's just a slippery slope for people, and I get that.
Yeah, and I think that's when you've got yourself to the other side of that, and you can, that is the exception rather than, if you eat a burger, then all of a sudden you go on a weekend binge, and you see it all the time as well. People go, I eat healthy 5 days a week and then I go off the rails at the weekend, but it's not like a bad meal. They literally eat shit from Friday evening through to Sunday evening. Just like every meal is just full of processed, full of hydrogenated fats and all this sort of stuff. And it's just learning to like be able to keep a handle on it. And, like you said, with then when you were carnivore and eating the burger with some pepper in it, making you flare up. Yeah. I think that with keto as well, because you get people that are so focused on following a ketogenic diet that they just become completely petrified of carbs. Yeah. But you talk about one of the massive benefits of following a ketogenic diet is you become metabolically flexible, efficient at using fat and carbohydrate as a fuel source. But if you follow a ketogenic diet and you're eating 25 grams of carbs a day, which is only coming from like leafy greens or whatever, you become inefficient at using carbohydrates. And then all of a sudden it's someone's birthday and you have a piece of cake and you feel like crap after it.
So you fly off the walls and then you feel
I had exactly the same experience when we did the carnivore diet we did 2 weeks straight, and at the end of that we had fish and chips to celebrate.
Chocolate,
right? And I felt so horrific after that. I couldn't sleep all night. I just felt awful. And I think there's just a balance between like being healthy, and you can be healthy by doing the right thing, like you said, 80% of the time, and by doing that you deserve you earn your right. It does
depend what that 20% is though. Like you say, like if someone goes off the rails all weekend, like I genuinely think like if I avoid refined sugar, like I feel low for like a week, but then I feel like a much more balanced mood. Like there's something in, and for me it's like matrix food. Like you go into the supermarket and if it's packaged and there's refined sugar in it, it's like, I don't know, maybe you can, some people can, or maybe it is a bit, but it's like, I'd rather try and get that in blueberries or something, or cashews than in a pack.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I have it one day, I want it the next day, and there's something like, it's like crack coming off sugar.
Yeah. And that definitely is the thing. It's down to, there's so many different factors, but it's like, if you're the type of person that can go, right, okay, actually Saturday evening I'm gonna have a chocolate bar, and then you can sleep fine and you can wake up the next day and just go back to your diet,
Yeah.
then that's fine. But if you're the type of person where if you eat this, it's going to be a slippery slope and you're going to be knee deep in Ben and Jerry's for the next few days, it's probably a good idea to avoid it.
Absolutely. Right. I think we've done a bit on food.
Yeah.
Is there anything you do in a week, like you try and get a certain amount of walks in, or like?
Yeah. So again, just the nature of running a startup company, like constantly on the computer, right?
Yeah.
So I do my utmost to train every single day, and I also try and just get out in nature a couple of times a week, where I just go airplane mode or not even take my phone with me.
Yeah.
Get out in nature and do a walk, or do a walk in a cold water immersion or something like that. So that's something that I find just for my mental health, including something like that once or twice a week. And I'm talking like completely switch off electronics, get out into the woods, no other people, an hour's walk, a full immersion in cold water at the end of it. It just helps. So you feel like a new person when you get back from it.
Yeah.
And I know, you're the person that, when we started hanging out, you started taking me for cold water immersions, and I went from like sporadically including those things sort of unconsciously to now that's a massively conscious part of my schedule, where every week I'll be doing that.
You have to face that. It's so much easier at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, with the summer.
Yeah,
I've been blasting myself with cold showers every day. It's so, when the weather's like this outside, you can put all the way to cold, and it's easy to have a cold shower.
No problem.
But in December is a different story.
It's different, but I think if we're consciously doing it from now, it's hard. It's like you have to do it every week from now till winter, and if you miss a week, then it just gets really hard. But I'm the same with that. I'm going for my runs in nature. I'm going for walks in nature. I'm trying. At the moment, I think this is 3 weeks in a row that we've, if not 4, that I've camped every week. At least one. So I'm doing my cold water immersion. Yesterday, I found a really good river spot I need to take you to, where you can swim. It's about 30 meter width across the river.
Oh, nice.
And you can get out either side of the bank. So I want to start doing like swim sessions where I hit like 10 widths or something like that.
Cool.
But I went there yesterday. I went there the other day as well. But it's been, with the weather was sunny, it's teeming with Bristolians, and it's like halfway to Bath and the cycle path. But yeah, the cold water immersion I think is really key, and the walks as well. But now we're adding in this camp. We did it last week, where 4 of us went out into Goblin Combe. I think Mo brought his phone, but I think I had mine, but it was airplane mode, and I've got a Faraday bag for it, so I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Didn't bring it out, didn't take any pictures. So yeah, I really wanted the nights when you're not got any radiation, because it's one thing to sleep with a earthing sheet and windows open, but if you're still in an urban environment and there's Wi-Fi in the air, I just don't know how much you can really avoid it. So now I'm trying to add that to my routine, is at least one camp out a week under the stars. And we did it, we kind of fasted from the evening, we had our evening meals, and then we met at like 6 o'clock. And all we took was a little stove, and I took some reishi and maitake mushroom mix. I didn't know how it would work, and it actually worked out really good, and we just shared that, and we sat on the earth, and we all said like a prayer.
Nice.
For everything really that is going off in the earth, and we just chatted and looked at the stars, and there's something in that's so human, that's just when you're lying there staring at the stars, talking to each other, all like mutuals. I think I said it to you before, when you're walking with someone and you're having a conversation, it's far more mutual than when you're facing each other, because you're kind of like equals at the same, like walking alongside. If you're in someone's house or someone's favorite restaurant or their favorite coffee shop, or there's always like some equality there, for like you sat at someone's facing the room and someone's facing the wall when they're talking. But something about walking or lying on the earth looking at the stars together when you talk, that just feels like you've tried to find a place of understanding with each other, and you're having a conversation rather than a debate where you're shouting at each other, So that's just been a nice addition that I've done 4 weeks now of camping, 4 nights under the stars. And there's just something in the air. And also with that though, I did one night on my own. I felt so much more vulnerable on my own, and it's not like your friend being asleep next to you is making you any safer. Do you know what I mean? But there was something about sleeping on my own, that you're more in your thoughts because there's not as much conversation. But I felt more vulnerable, and I didn't sleep as well that night. And I woke up.
Subconsciously, you must have been on guard, right? Your brain's probably keeping you a little bit awake just in case something's going to kick off.
Exactly. But I think there's something there that needs to be faced until you soften. I think the more I can do it and I learn to relax around a woodland or wherever I'm staying and not think, like, it's been 5 years since I watched horror movies or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's not in the forefront of my mind. I know when I've took people from London to like Snowdon, and it's the night time and you're walking down a country lane and their thought just goes straight to horror movies. And you're like, wow, like we are so programmed from these horror movies that we watch. And so the sooner you can stop watching them, and people will say, oh, it doesn't affect me. It flipping does, man. Like it's in your subconscious. It could be in your dreams. So even 5 years out, and I'm not thinking horror movies, but you still think someone could just walk up here, do something to me, they could take my bag, they could do whatever. I'm going to be asleep, completely vulnerable in this woodland, or an animal, bugs, insects, all that stuff that as humans we've built up this defense towards, that I think I want to face it. And there's one of my favorite books I ever read was Anastasia, about some Russian woman who lived, and it's supposed to be fiction but based on a true story potentially, and you don't know, but she lived in nature and slept in like a patch of moss and had relationships with like the animals around her would help her find her food and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, maybe that's one extreme version, maybe that is a potential past or future, maybe not, but at the same time I should be able to sleep in a flipping bivy bag and not be like scared, you know. I should be able to fall asleep and wake up feeling like I just had the best, because you've got all the air quality, you've got nice, you're connecting with the earth, you're earthing, but if you are on edge, it's going to affect that. So I want to keep doing it until that edge softens and see if I can get, like, what if we sleep in beds in cities and we're like, yeah, I had a good night's sleep, I had CBD, which worked or whatever. What if that's not even a fraction on how we could feel if we wake up in nature and be like, I do, you know? Yeah,
I'm fully on board with that. I think, you feel that way, and that is 100% societal conditioning, because although we would have slept in tribes for, as long as, human existence probably, but the likelihood is, you would have gone out and there would have been nights when you would have spent it by yourself, and you wouldn't have been worrying because you had no reference point to anything bad happening to you probably. Whereas now, like you said, we're just watching movies where like, people are getting, like their heads chopped off in the woods and stuff like that.
Blair Witch Project was a massive one.
And then it's just in the back of your mind. But on that, and this whole idea of connecting with nature, I think the more time I spend in nature, the more I realise that as human beings, we're effectively one with the environment around us, one with nature, and it's a natural place for us to be. And in modern societies, the first time, or the last couple of 100 years, is the first time where we're not in nature. For the whole of human existence, we would have been immersed with nature, and you wouldn't have been able to get away from the fact that we are one with it.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, now we're in a society where, unless you're consciously making the effort to go and get in the woods, or go and get in the river, or in the forest, wherever you are, then it's just not going to happen. You lose that connection. And I think it's so important to human health that have that connection and really start to understand it.
Shinrin Yoku. You heard of that?
No.
I think it means forest bathing.
Yeah.
In like Japanese or something.
Yeah.
Shinrin Yoku.
Okay, so
that's what we need, forest bathing. Yeah. There's something in it.
100%.
So we need to undo that process however we can.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Anything else? What other holistic? I think like having regular checks and I mentioned it in a previous one about like most people just check their weight and that's their daily gauge of where they're at.
Yeah.
Like, am I fatter or thinner than yesterday? You know what I mean?
What's the scale saying?
Yeah, what's the scale saying? It's like, but you can look in the mirror and you can see whether you're glowing or not. Like some days you've been eating right, you've been in the sun, relationships are nice, and you can just tell that you're glowing from the mirror. Although we don't need to rely on the mirror at all. Some days you can feel your hair, you stroke through your hair and it feels nice. Soft, some days it feels drier. Like I think I noticed when I eat more cashews, my hair feels a bit drier. And then it links with cashews as a slight poison, or little things like that you notice. How mobile you are, your daily lunge test or something like that to see where your hips are at. But then it's like, what time of day are you doing it? Are you doing it before you've really moved? But we do need like little daily checks.
I think for me is the main one that I do is checking in with my breath.
Yeah,
and
great.
I can tell is if I've had a stressful day, or I'm busy at the computer or whatever, I'll go, right, okay, I'll check in my breath now. I'll close my eyes. I'll just run 5 deep breaths. And it'll all be in my chest.
Yeah.
I won't be able to belly breathe.
Yeah.
And I'll go, right, okay, actually, I'm going to be here a little bit longer than 5 breaths because I need to get myself back into a state where I can belly breathe. And you're just sitting there in an amped up state. And you don't even realize until you check in with your breath. So I think that's a really, really important one.
I had a breathwork session yesterday. Shout out to Arthur Pollins, who gave me a session. And it was on Zoom, lying down, and he wants to see me at my head and chest when I breathe.
Yeah.
And it was transformational breathing. He used to be a Wim Hof instructor, but now he does transformational. He finds it more effective, less aggressive, more gentler. And he talked about figure of 8 breathing and like in and like release out. Anyway, we could go into that. But he noticed that I wasn't breathing below my belly button. When I breathe, I can belly breathe, but it's all above the belly button. And I know when I try to forcefully breathe, I feel a real block like in that belt line.
Yeah.
And I think we might have something similar. And that affects all my mobility in my hips because and it could be an emotional knot.
Yeah.
From younger, it could be a physical knot it's like built some tenseness to protect my lower back, which is, there's a connection with your stomach at the front and your lower back stability.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is, but I just thought that really interesting observation. And then you're saying the same thing, that you notice you can breathe to your chest, but I'm not actually breathing to my belly.
Yeah. Can you breathe into your back, the lower part of your back?
Yeah, but it feels like there's a fight to do it.
Yeah.
And do you feel in that?
Yeah, and that's the last place I can get to.
Yes.
I've got to be super
and
relaxed.
There's like a intensity there.
Yeah, it's like you're forcing the air into there. As
so I
opposed
think
to
we need to do some like sessions daily. Do you try and do that regularly?
So we do.
That's literally what I've started to do regularly now.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of it when we meditate in the evening with Iz. We'll do a lot of breathwork stuff. She's got a good one at the moment where it's like you breathe through your nose, into your stomach, into your chest, out through your mouth.
Yeah.
And you feel that as you go through more and more rounds, you feel everything start to open up and you can reach into the more areas.
Good.
And I think that's a great way, especially for me, to start my meditation practice. I think a lot of guys that I speak to for the first time and they've never meditated before, especially when they're athletes, there's this stigma around meditation, and it's really hard for someone who's used to checking Instagram every 5 minutes and watching the constant updates and the constant change in stimulus to just be able to sit in silence.
Yeah.
And it can be really off-putting for someone to just try and meditate first time round and just go, right, okay, you're just going to sit there and just focus on your breath, and it's frustrating and they can't do it. But if you take someone and say, right, we're going to do some breath work, they're actively doing something, so it's easier for them to follow. And especially when you're dealing with athletes that are really naturally connected with their body, and then they can feel, can you feel, and you tell them to direct the breath, can you feel your breath going into here, can you feel the breath going into there? It's just it's a really easy gateway to helping them meditate. And after you've done 10 minutes of breath work, it's much easier to sit and meditate after that.
Oh, cool.
So it's a really easy way to go into it. And especially if you do a longer exhale than the inhale. So, we all sigh, everyone sighs naturally.
Yeah.
And that's our body trying to knock us into a rest and digest state. So you can imitate the sigh by doing your exhale twice as long as your inhale. So inhale for 4, exhale for 8.
Yeah.
And that is a way of, just knocking your body into that relaxed state.
Breath, control.
It's so important.
Yeah.
First and last thing we do in life.
Yeah, there we go. It's definitely was to dive deeper in that. I remembered one of the tests that I do pretty much every day. I do send my ropes through Royal Mail Drop and Go. When I log into Drop and Go, if because I get tracking, but I don't send it. It's a mission for me to send it, but people request their tracking number. So when they request it, I have to log in. And to log in, every single time I log in, when they send you a text to your phone with a code, that you have to type in to log in. It's always an 8-digit code. And how well I remember that 8-digit code, because I try and look at it once and type all 8 digits. Because 8 is kind of like the maximum, you know what I mean? 6 you can do pretty much every time. It's a good test. So pretty much every day I get this little test. And I know I've been off chocolate and pretty much refined sugar for like a few weeks now, like pretty good. But I noticed when I have that, my memory and my short-term memory was so tough.
Yeah.
But now with the lion's mane and eating clearer, my brain feels clearer.
Yeah.
I can hit. I've not failed that 8-digit yet. Like
Nice.
I've been good with it. But that little things like that I like to use as tests.
Yeah.
And then I also I've got my Sudokus, Futoshiki I really like.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to go into your... Because I know you're big into sort of doing your crosswords and
my
stuff
brain,
like that.
not quite crosswords, but I'm not good at crosswords. But that's like memory and remembering what something means, right? And drawing on that, which for some reason the older generation are really good at crosswords.
Yeah.
But I like a logic puzzle where there's zero guessing or memory involved.
Yeah.
It's just purely if this, then this. So Sudoku's the most common one that people use.
Mm-hmm.
But there's Futoshiki, which is like a number one where you have to link number 1 to number 130 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it has to connect in a chain, and there's numbers laid out that you have to connect up. And then there's like Killer Sudoku, Hidato. There's a few different ones like that, but I really like them as not only like I feel like they sharpen me a little bit, and I feel like my mind can just clue into stuff quicker.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a test for me and feedback of like how sharp do I feel when I'm doing them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can just fly, and you're doing little sum kukaru. That's the other one. That's like a sum crossword. So it's technically a crossword, but it's a sum crossword. And that's all these little mini sums, 17 divided by 3 or whatever. Like if that what's going to make up this, little adding up things, and that how comfortable I'm doing that. It just lets me know whether I'm on point or not, because you don't always know where your mind's at. And if all you're doing is sport or emails, you're not getting you can gauge maybe on emails how you've flown through it, but there's nothing like a logic puzzle where if this then this, how quick can my brain, because we are wired to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like problem solving but with numbers. It's not like there's no real end or severe consequence of it, but it's a chance to test your problem solving.
It's quite interesting you say that as well, because just from knowing you're a really creative person, the way you exercise, the way you create all the content and stuff that you do, you're super creative. Whereas that is a really logical thing that you sort of practice. Do you think because there's different hemispheres of the brain, one side's more creative, one side's more logical. I would guess that you're more of a creative brain person, but then you're doing these more logical puzzles. Is that intentional, or you're drawn to both?
Man, you haven't seen me creative.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like the younger me was so creative, and that's what I think. The more you do healing, the more you can access that fuller side of yourself. But we're meant to be both, bro. We're meant to be strong at both. I love my mind, and I love my potential in both, and where I'm at with both. But I know where I could get, with both the left brain. And it was funny. I think Nishar said about the rope, how it's the perfect blend of that. You can be creative with the rope, but it also requires drastic logic to work out how you're making the rope go past you without hitting you. So I thought that was a good point from him. But train both, man. Yeah, I love training both, and I like to be creative, but at the same time recognizing that there is almost formulas to creativity, like with the kettlebells, playing with that, or parkour. It's it can look creative, but at the same time, I'm just looking at variables. Blindfold. What's the opposite of a blindfold? A mirror. Like complete feedback, no feedback. These are and it can look at creativity, or to me, it's like logically applying stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Internal, external, left, right.
It's interesting you say that on the rope, because again, going back to breathing techniques, you can do breathing techniques where you breathe in through one nostril.
That's one was
and
my
then let it
routine.
out through the other.
Yeah.
And that
Tibetan 9 purification breaths. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
That's one version of it, where you do 3 in one side and the other, then swap, and then both. Because they've got you've got these different channels. You've got 2 up the middle and 2 at one on either side, apparently.
Yeah, and I know doing that type of breathing balances the hemispheres of your brain. And I think that's what the rope does as well.
Yeah.
You're swinging both sides.
Yeah.
And it just, it does it serves that same purpose.
You're
of
crossing
trying
your
to
center
balance
line.
your brain.
Yeah.
But on the whole idea of logic and creativity, I think you're pretty lucky or not lucky. You've worked hard at it, but like you said, you're good at using both sides of your brain. Whereas I think a lot of people, they're either stuck in the logic or stuck in the creative side. You see that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that for someone like that, and for me, that was a big problem I've had in the past, where such a logical thinker, and then when it comes to time to being creative, I'm just get so frustrated with myself because I can't do anything.
It's your inner child.
So
that's the keys to your creativity.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's the undoing process to get access that again.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like you said, like a lot of people, and I'm a classic example of this, went through school and was told
you can't draw or something like that.
Exactly.
And that's the moment that creativity switched off.
And you just switch it off and you decide, and then you tell yourself this story, oh, I'm not a creative person, I'm not a creative person, and then you don't want to try any of that sort of stuff. But like anything in life, this can all be trained.
Well, you might have. Here's the thing: is I can't sing for shit, and I can't really draw, in my opinion. Although then you look at Basquiat, and he's not necessarily a classic drawer, but it was beautiful in its own childlike. He held his pen a certain way. You will have something that went like for me. I'm creative with the human body. Like that's my outlet.
Yeah.
You will have something that might be the human body as well, but there'll be a creative thing that when you tuned into it, it's your outlet, and it might not have been the thing that you were told at school, you know.
Yeah, and then that's what I found is that since I realised that, and I was like, I need to do something intentionally to ignite my creativity, and through training with you, I definitely have started to do that, become way more creative with my training. Yeah, and when you do it through something, you know, a means that you're sort of more familiar with anyway, it's just easier to make that progress. But like you said, when you are in a relaxed state, you're more creative. Well, that completely ties up with how the brain works. So you've got the reptilian brain at the back of your head, like the top of the spine, and you've got the prefrontal cortex at the front, and that's the area of the brain which, you know, you do all your creative thinking with. Well, if you're in a like a fight or flight state, you're not using your prefrontal cortex. You go into that reptilian brain mode, you know, like instinct, like, and this is the whole thing with, you know, Dan Hardy in the UFC, and he calls himself the full reptile and all that he's playing on that concept where he wants to tap into the reptilian brain. So he's got animalistic instincts to respond, you know, to punches or kicks or whatever's coming through. But what happens to people in modern society is, and you know, I'm sure everyone can relate to this, is you have a stressful experience and all of a sudden your brain just shut, you know, your logical thinking, your creative thinking, your more advanced thinking just shuts down, and you go into this fight or flight, you know, primitive state almost. So yeah, I think it's important to try and keep yourself in a relaxed state so you can access the creativity and access the sort of more advanced areas of your mind.
The breathing and the meditation are the keys to get there.
Breathing and meditation are perfect tools to be able to do that.
Cool. So we've covered a lot already. I think we'll just go into evening routines.
Yeah.
And, go to bed. Cool. Yeah. So what are you doing for you?
So my evening routine. So I'll normally train, like I said, at like 3:30, something like that. And then after that, I might do like a little bit of work. I have my evening meal relatively early, normally around 6:30. And then after I finish my evening meal, what I tend to do is I'll just have a bit of time relaxing, whether it's listening to a podcast, watching a TV. What I try and do, and it's not really applicable at the moment because the sun's up so late, but during the winter months, I'll try and turn my electronics off or put my electronics on airplane mode, turn the TV off when the sun goes down. Yeah. So I'm just allowing my brain to align with
you're
the circadian
offline
rhythms.
From early evening.
Yeah,
and
especially
it's
in the
one
winter.
of those where it's like, once you know that, I just accept that about you. Like, it's like, that's cool, isn't it? Like,
there's no point trying to call after like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
It's good.
And then what we'll do is and I'll just normally go. So this is another thing as well. We're very lucky. We've got a spare room in our house, and we have it as the meditation room. So it's just, you know, full of nice bits and pieces, a real woman's touch on it in terms of like candles and fairy lights and all that sort of thing. And we'll go into the meditation room and we'll do like an hour of, I might do some stretching or some light mobility work, and then we'll do breath work and meditation. And it's just perfect for just decompressing, finish the end of the day, you get ready for bed. So I'll usually do that. And in terms of the actual meditation practice itself, we'll usually start with pranayama, so like 5 or 10 minutes of breath work, and then we'll move into, and it can be a wide variety of practices because we'll just lead, you know, whatever she's feeling she needs to lead that evening. But, you know, it could be just silence, watching your breath. Sometimes it might be a visualization. We've been doing some, I think I might butcher the name of this, but trickata is like flame staring. So we've been doing a bit of that recently. So yeah, we'll do sort of like an hour of unwind meditation practice, maybe a little bit longer. And then after that, I usually just jump into bed, and I'll supplement. Well, it depends. So at the moment, I've got my CBD oil, and then I've also got magnesium body spray from Delatere, and that's sort of my sleep stack at the moment. So I'll spray some magnesium on my body, and then take like 20-25 milligrams of CBD, and then lights out.
Nice, man. I try and turn my electronics off, maybe not quite as early as you. I've got a projector just above your head there, so if I want to watch something, I can't really, because it's a projector, it doesn't work so well with the sun's up, which kind of works nicely, because then I'm not trying to watch TV in the daytime or anything, but and also it's a light on a wall rather than you're not staring at.
Yeah, it's definitely less intense than a TV.
So much better than a TV to be looking at a light on the wall. So I might watch a show on Netflix. I finished The Last Dance, which was amazing. But then often I'm not even doing that at the moment, only if I have a show that I'm watching. But other than that, I'll probably finish my evening meal 6:37, something like that. Maybe have some nuts and some fruit after that, like a little bit later. But then 9 o'clock, I'm starting to get ready for bed. I'll airplane mode my phone. I'll go into my bedroom. At the moment, I'm reading Walden, which is a really good book from like 1850s. But a guy just saying like, why did we do all these things like in society, like have 5 pairs of trousers when we could just people like judge you if you've got a patch on your knee, but it's like you're using your little things like that. And he's like, I'm just going to go live in the woods to see if I'm not missing out on something, to live this. So just getting into that, I just finished Ernest Hemingway, The Man in the Fish, The Man in the Sea.
When was that written? Sorry, not the last one. The
Walden one.
Yeah,
like
Walden.
1850 or something like that.
Oh, wow. So he's having those thoughts even then?
It's amazing, man. He's having all the thoughts we're having, and it's just like he's having them back then, and he just built a house and laid out exactly how much he cost him to build a house from scratch for him to live in. And he's saying like they refer to like their native Indians as savages, and he's saying like the savages, like the leader of the tribe and the poorest person all live in the same kind of house, and it can just be like they have like the yurts or whatever, and it can be like 3 feet of snow outside, and it's no problem, like they can live and they're completely fine because they've chosen to live like that. And it's like we have all these luxuries and stuff that just doesn't serve us and makes us further from happy, and it's like what we consider we chase. He just basically asks all the right questions when he goes into it. But I feel like sometimes in my life I just don't feel like I can read a book, and at the moment I'm enjoying reading, so that's been good when I can do that. So I'll just read for a bit, and literally 9:30, 10 o'clock, lights out, lie down. I've been using your CBD more recently.
Nice.
I just use it once a week, so I can just and mostly Sunday nights after a big weekend or whatever of training. I'll have a salt bath and then use your CBD, and I actually felt like I was like, let me just do a bigger dropper next time. So I did a bigger dropper, and I was out like a light. Did I tell you? I told you, didn't I? That, like, I woke up and I was certain it was like 10 o'clock in the morning because I'd slept so deeply, and it was only 7, so I couldn't believe that. So once a week I'll be using that now, but I try not to really use any stimulants or even non-stimulants. Like they say reishi before bed and things like that, but I've just literally been off trying to do too much things in the day and too many different substances in my body, like that are adaptogens and stuff. I just try and respect 1 or 2 at a time. Nothing crazy. Just literally trying to get off electronics. And I'm not going to lie, there are like a few nights a week when I'll be looking at Instagram till 10 p.m. till I go out, or like WhatsApp conversations going, or you're chatting to someone and you don't want to be rude and like just cut it off where you are. And so there is that, but I'm definitely striving now for less screen time. And for the screen time that I have to be not within an hour or 2 of waking up and not within an hour or 2 of bed. I think the key is like keep it within work hours. But I'm not going to schedule posts. I'm still going to post Instagram 7 o'clock at night. I don't mind like a few posts and then out.
That's something I struggle with massively.
It's like that's the time to post. We're gonna have to do it, but it's not. We can't judge it too much. I think it literally is just going from 4 hours to 1 hour. If you can do that, like that's a big step. What do you get the little update of like how many hours a day you're on your phone?
No, I don't. I've never looked at that.
I think it comes up for me like 4 sometimes. Wow. But I am driving with Google Maps and YouTube playing and things, so I don't know how much it counts that. But I
think that's one of the biggest problems in sort of modern society. Is just people are constantly walking around on their phones. Especially before I moved to Bristol in London. You walk around, everyone's looking down at the phone. If you were an alien looking from outer space, you'd probably look down and think like, the phones are the conscious beings, and the humans are the things carrying them around.
We treat it how we should treat God. Yeah, we like look into it for all the answers and
It's
everything.
crazy.
But I'm not. It is what it is. It's a chapter of a life. It's brought us together. Like without the phones, I'm so grateful for it as a tool. We just have to like empower ourselves and stay above it and like
Yeah.
understand it and use it as a tool. But then definitely, I think the beauty of the tribe that we're building here is we're spending time together doing stuff where we're not looking at phones. And I think that's and this social distancing thing. I feel like that's the big part of it. Is like they're making social distancing normal, and it's like we're starting to do courses on phone apps and things like that more than ever, and it's becoming accessible. And what if that is the big plug? All these diets that we're searching for answers to, like it's the diet, but then we've also got this consistency of the phone and the Wi-Fi, and it's like, what if your diet? You could probably be pretty much sure you could probably get away with more.
Well,
worse foods and like
tell people this all the time. It's like digestion's so important. And everyone, well, not everyone, but we've got these things called mirror neurons that when you watch it, this is why advertising works so well, because you see someone drinking a bottle of Coke and you want that bottle of Coke because the mirror neurons in your brain. Well, if you're sat down and you're eating your food and you're watching an action movie, your body's in a fight or flight state because that's why modern day movies are amazing,
your
because
subconscious doesn't know the difference. Like,
you're in there, you're in the back of that car on the police chase or whatever. Your body doesn't know, and
you think you can consciously override it, but there's a part of your brain, like there's a baby in there that's just like...
Yeah, no, it's no way. And if you think for 1 second you're going to be digesting your food when you're in that state. So that's another thing actually, which is I've got to thank Paul Check for. He does a prayer before he eats his food.
Yeah.
And I don't do a prayer, but I just take a second to sort of like put my hands over the food, close my eyes. I'll take some of those breaths that I was talking about, where I'll go in for 4, out for 8, and just make sure my body's in a nice relaxed state
before you eat. Yeah.
And before I eat, and instead of watching TV, just listen to a podcast.
Take something in audio, then staring at. Yeah, I think there is something to like eating while watching something, which I do. Like 1 meal a day, I'm probably watching something while I'm eating. Like, yeah, there's something in that as well. Cool, man. I think we've gone on.
That's enough for people.
Yeah. Well, like I say, we don't have answers for anyone for anything, but we can just share with how we're doing, and there might be things that resonate with you. There might be things you might take away. There might be things that you do that could help us as well. So please leave comments on the YouTube. I like the YouTube outlet, the fact that they've got a nice visual there. But if you're on Spotify or iTunes, wherever you're listening to this, drop us. You can message us on Instagram at Human Timothy for me, or at Way of the Rope if you're on the rope flex. There's a lot of ropers out there.
Mine's ape_nutrition. Website's www.apenutrition.co.uk. And like Tim said, we are like looking at the comments and stuff. So if people have got episode suggestions or just anything they want to know a little bit more about, just send us a message and we'll do our best to get back to you.
Episode suggestions, guest suggestions. We may be moving to that at some point. So hit us up. We appreciate you guys watching. We do enjoy doing this once a week, and we appreciate the consistency and the people that enjoy tuning in every week. We really do. Stay in touch and see you all next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Peace. Boom.